Hola, bienvenido to the Green Cards to Greenbacks podcast. Hosted by me, Nestor Vargas, I'm here to teach you everything you need to know about using your dinero to create wealth and find money independence. As a kid from Colombia who grew up in a barrio, I got fed up with having money insecurities, so I decided to become a personal finance expert and a certified financial planner. After 12 years of mastering my money skills, I'm ready to share with you how I help $1 million clients grow their wealth. If you're looking to become a master at managing your dinero, you're in the right place. Now, let's dive into the episode. Alrighty, my friends, welcome back to another episode of the Green Cards to Greenbacks podcast. Today, I have a very special guest. His name is Oscar. Let me go ahead and tell you a little bit more about Oscar. He is the founder and chief empowerment officer of Spire Consulting, a Silicon Valley training and consulting firm providing culturally relevant career and leadership programs. He is an introvert turned international speaker. Oscar has trained over 33,000 professionals, guys, across 13 countries and 5 continents. So he's the real deal. His training style is of a, let me read this, trainer. What that means is that he actually practices what he's training. He actively practices what he's training, what he's teaching people, which is amazing. He's an ESL student like me, turned contributing author to Hispanic Stars Rising Volume 2, The New Face of Power, where his story, I Am the Minority, highlights the importance of embracing the struggle, valuing our identity, and the power of being vulnerable, telling our story or our struggles. As the Chief Empowerment Officer, Oscar empowers you so opportunities come to you. How did I do, Oscar?
Oh my God, Nestor, you're hired, my friend. You're my PR person. That's it. Okay. Contract's coming in the mail. Thank you, Nestor, for having me here.
And yeah, so absolutely, man. I'm excited to have you here. So let's go ahead and dive in. We were just talking about this concept of Latinos and our identity, and then that there's a way that we can really impact the way we view our identity to better ourselves. I know it's a big passion of yours. So let's start there. Tell me a little bit more about what you're working on, what's on your mind.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Nestor, again, for having me as a guest here. So next week, we are organizing a free virtual summit. The title of it is First Generation Virtual Summit. The theme is changing the narrative and increasing career opportunities for first gen college students. This topic is very dear to my heart because I am a first generation professional. I was a first generation college student, the only one out of 10 siblings that ever went off to college. My dad was a dishwasher. My mom worked in housekeeping. And I lived that experience. I continue to live the experience out as a first gen professional, as a first gen entrepreneur. And many times growing up, that label of being a first generation, being a minority, tends to have a negative connotation. And throughout my career and today, as I look back, I'm like, no, it's actually a positive. There's positive connotations to these labels that society puts on us, but they put it on us, these labels, again, with a negative filtered negative connotation. And I'm here to uncover that and turn that crap into fertilizer, my friend.
I love it, Dad. I love it. So tell us a little bit more about how can we turn that because it's true, right? Like I'm also a first gen immigrant who came to this country and I felt like the word minority had this negative connotation. And so I melted away. They call us at the melting pot here in the United States. So my culture melted
Yes.
away and I became this chameleon where I really just started hanging out with people who I saw successful because I didn't have a good Latino mentor.
Yes.
I didn't have a powerful mentor, and so it basically melted away my culture because I didn't have to say I was Latino. I was just an American. And
Yes.
thinking back at it now, being older, having gone through it, owning my business now, haven't been in very successful careers over a decade. You're right. We can own our culture. We can absolutely. It's a superpower. So tell us a little bit more about what do you recommend? How do we view our culture in a positive connotation, the minority word in a positive connotation
Sure.
rather than negative?
Sure. So before I answer your question, I do want to acknowledge to anyone that's listening to this that I understand why we do this, why we minimize, like you said, our culture, our experiences, because no one wants to feel uncomfortable. No one wants to feel made fun of. No one wants to be ridiculed. And in fact, in this country, if we even go back in history, there were many times when we were punished for speaking Spanish, or obviously even more severe things, right? There's a history of racism in our country. So I understand that. I understand that. Now, to answer your question, what can we do? So one of the things that I encourage people to do, and I actually do this in one of my training programs, is I ask people to honor what I call honor your past. What does that mean? Go back into your personal journey and think about life experiences, these key life experiences that happened where maybe you felt less than uncomfortable. So I'll use myself as an example. When I was in fifth grade, my dad, and first of all, in Mexico, my dad was a butcher. But in the US, when I was in fifth grade, my dad one day said, son, get the buckets, the knives, the towels ready. And I was like, what for, Dad? That was a start, Nestor, for about 7 years. Every weekend, we would go to the slaughterhouses, kill a pig, cow, goat, and we would sell fresh meat the way you do it in Mexico and Colombia and many other countries. As a kid, I was embarrassed about doing that. I just disappeared on the weekends from my friends. They would ask me, why don't you play with us, Oscar? And I would be like, because I'm busy. I'm like, what the heck is an 11-year-old doing that he's busy? Okay. I was just embarrassed to tell him what I was doing. Today, when I look back at that experience, I learned very important, valuable life lessons. I learned a work ethic. I learned delayed gratification, teamwork, and many others. Like I said, look at your life experiences, these key life experiences. Number two, acknowledge that ugly, yucky feeling. Why? Because I want us to own that yucky, ugly feeling and not have that feeling own us. We have to heal from some of that trauma. And then number three is look and uncover the positive skills, the positive experience out of that. I shared with you that one of the life lessons that I learned was a work ethic, teamwork, delayed gratification. So life experiences, acknowledge those yucky feelings, and then uncover the positives out of those experiences. And once we do that, dude, we're freaking superpowers. Like we say in Mexico, somos chingones, dude. We're badass, dude. Unstoppable.
Así es, Oscar. Oh man, that's so good. I do a lot of reading about psychology. Recently, I've been reading about how to look at the past. There's really there's two simple ways you can look at the past and you can think about it, why this happened to me, or you can look at the past and you can say, this happened for me. This happened
Yes.
for me. That's
Yes.
what you just said, right? This happened for me. I learned hard work, delayed gratification. So we have to look at our past and we have to rethink about it. We have to view that different, right? We have to
Yes.
reprocess our
Yes.
past.
Yes.
Instead of thinking, this happened to me, this happened to me, this happened to me, think about it. This happened for me. This happened for me. This happened for me.
Yes.
What did it teach me and how am I a better person now? Freaking love it,
Yes.
Oscar. That's awesome. Thank you so much for those 3 pointers, man. Your forte right now is really teaching professionals, right? Even students, minority students, and even professionals and how to really succeed in their career. And
Yes.
and I'm wondering, are there any particular Latino like traumas that you see that's keeping us from actually being able to get better jobs or actually really succeed in the workforce?
Yes. So one, and it really, I refer to it as cultural barriers. One of them off the top of my mind is what we call in Spanish el aguante, or putting up with things. And think about this. I mean, this el aguante really transcends it in so many aspects of Latino culture. Putting up with it, you could be in a relationship and putting up, like my mother, my dad. Listen, I love them, and this is no disrespect to either one of them. I'm just sharing part of my, in fact, part of a very personal part of my story, and that is that my dad was an alcoholic. My dad used to beat the you know what out of my mother, and my mother continued to stay in that relationship. And as I got older, being the oldest here, I have a younger brother, same mom and dad. Of course, my mom didn't have anyone to go talk to except for me. And every time your dad's doing this, oh, I can't do it. For me personally, it got to the point where one, I couldn't do anything really about it. Number two, I just there were times where I've just had my own issues and I just got tired, sadly, of hearing my mother constantly. I felt like she was dumping on me. And I remember telling my mom one day, I'm like, Mom, if you don't want to be with dad anymore, leave him. Don't worry about financially. How are you going to support yourself? I'm like, I'll take care of you. You know, my brother, we'll take care of you. But I just want you to be happy. Don't be miserable. She never did. And they worked together for 52 years. And that I wanted, let's take it into the professional world. We oftentimes, as Latinos, are so grateful because we are now director, we're now manager, we're now vice president, because we were given an opportunity because, gosh, look where I come from. And so we're grateful and we put up with the bullshit that corporate America sometimes puts us through. There's pay equity. Oh, don't even get me started with Latina pay equity. Okay. And there's so many inequalities and equities that we put up with que aguantamos. And to my point, I'm like, you know what? Beat it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you talk about again is I think going back to our past and, and knowing that our past knows our past doesn't have to be our present or future, and really believing in what we're worth.
Yes, it is. It's we culture, Latino culture has many positive traits, but as in anything, you take it to the other end of the spectrum and it could be a detriment. Listen, I love
Yeah,
fruit. Okay, I love cantaloupe. I like sandia with tahini on it. But dude, I cannot live on just eating sandia and tahini every single day. That's not a well balanced meal. Okay. So same thing in our cultura. I'm not here. I'm not putting it down or anything. I love it. You know me because we follow each other on social media and so forth. But again, I'm here talking about when we take our cultural values to the other end of the spectrum, and then also you then put in the other dynamic of being in a new country with also different cultures, different values, etc. And sometimes we just short circuit our brain, dude.
that's amazing, Oscar. That's super, super insightful. And actually makes me think about my past. Right. We have so many good traits. We have so many good traits. And we as Latinos love family. And I mean, just talk about
Yes.
your mom. Your mom stayed with your dad, and that's just the way it works. And if companies can treat Latinos like their family, they will have one of the most loyal employees they'll ever be able.
Yes.
You gotta
Yes.
treat people like family. You gotta treat people like family.
Yes.
Ah, man, love it. So, Oscar, you do a really amazing job in branding yourself on LinkedIn. And like when you see Oscar on LinkedIn, you know that Oscar is your compadre, you're the person that's going to help you succeed if you follow him. So branding is really important to land a job. And then also once you land the job, continue to build your brand within that company to succeed. What can you could probably talk about branding for 4 or 5 hours, if not more. But if you can think about what are the maybe top 5 things that you feel people can do to really create a brand and land the job that they want?
Yeah. So number one, there's four things that I believe are critical to creating a brand. But before, again, I always want to lay some groundwork here. I want to let people know, your listeners know, that whether they actively pursue their brand to develop the brand or they don't, they have a brand. They have a brand. It's like breathing. Like you're going to breathe, whether you think about it or not, intentional or not breathing. So same thing with your brand. If you don't do anything with your brand, you have one. What do I mean by that? What a brand, to keep it very simple, is when you're not around and your name comes into someone's mind, what are they thinking about you? What are, from a professional standpoint, what are the skill sets, the experience, or the thought leadership, the knowledge that you have? And then also your quality of work, right? And then also, are you a good person, work with? That's what comes, okay, to someone's mind. Now, there are four things that I believe are critical to developing our brand. Number one is, why do we do what we do? And then number two is, what are our values? Number three is, what is your vision? Okay. Where are you going? Okay. And then number four is, what is that image, whether it's in person or online? What do you want people, when they see you, what is that first impression that you want people to have? So those are the four things, foundations that I believe make up a very strong brand.
Okay. So I love those questions, and listeners, write those questions down and take time to reflect on them and really answer them because Oscar is giving you the foundation of how to build a brand and he's helping you create this brand by giving you amazing questions, amazing tools. Those are tools. There's four tools that he just gave you. Oscar, now let's say I've sat down, I've reflected, I've written down what I think my brand is. How do I put it out into the world? Do I just use LinkedIn? What's really the best method to put that brand out there?
Yeah. So what I encourage people to do is to, depending on the type of industry that you're in, work that you're doing, profession, or if you're a business owner, entrepreneur, the type of work, certainly social media is a very powerful platform, but depending again on the work that you do, et cetera, you're going to determine which social media platforms make the most sense for you. For me, given the work that I do corporate training, I do also a training for colleges and universities. LinkedIn is the right platform for me. In fact, that's my number one platform. For some people, it might be Instagram, etc. The other thing that you can do is what you are doing, both you and I, is you can also create a podcast. You can create a YouTube channel where you also share video content. You can create a blog. I always tell people there are really only three types of communications. There's video, there's audio, and written. Start with the method that you feel the most comfortable. For me, I'm a lazy writer. I now feel comfortable just flipping on the camera or audio and just speaking off the cuff. But have me write something, Dios mío, it's going to take me like a whole day just to write a paragraph. All right. So start where your strengths are.
Yes, I love it, man. I'm the same way. I'm working at writing, but I can absolutely express myself. I think about it. There's only so much energy in one day that I have mentally, and I like to look at tasks
Yes.
that don't take up as much mental width as other. And writing is super energy consuming. Talking, I love it. I actually get energy from it. So that's why I love the
Yeah.
podcast. I love all those tips. Those are actually really interesting ways to think about how you can brand yourself above and beyond just maybe a resume or a social media platform.
Yes.
So let's say, I was listening to one of your podcasts and you said, look, it is much easier for you. And I can't remember the stat. Maybe you can help me out. It was in a statistic that you said that if you know hiring manager, you have a
Um,
much higher probability of actually getting the job than you don't but just put in a resume. So I don't know if you remember that episode. Maybe
yeah.
tell us a little bit more
Yes.
about if you remember the statistics, tell us about the statistics. And two, tell us about how can we actually reach those people, the hiring.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I remember, Nestor. It's a testament to the power of building and nourishing relationships. Statistics say that you and I, job seeker, has a 3% chance of getting an interview if they apply for a job online. 3% chance of getting an interview if they apply online. But if you are referred to an opportunity and the person is at a director level or higher in the organization, you have almost about a 97% chance of getting hired. So 3% chance of an interview versus a very high probability of getting hired. And of course, the goal is to get the job, get hired. Yet most people apply for jobs online knowing that it doesn't work or you have to throw a bunch of mud up against the wall. I see people on social media post, I applied to 200 jobs. I'm like, dude, how many times do you have to bang your head up against the wall to realize that there's no door there? Like 200 times or 199? Stop it. Okay. But, but here's the thing is that many of us do not know how to build and nourish relationships. The only time we reach out to our network is when we need something, when we're looking for a job. And like I tell people, listen, you're acting like my son. The only time he texts me is when he needs money. Who likes that? I don't. Like, honestly, God, I'd save his text messages. I can show it to you right now. I'll be like, look, dude, he said hello. And right. The next text message is, Dad, can I have some money? Okay. Now, listen, I love my son. Okay. So that's the whole different thing here. But you get my point here. Now, I'm going to take this back to Latino culture, Nestor. We are excellent at building and nourishing relationships because who invented the phrase mi casa? It wasn't a gringo. It was us. We are very welcoming, very hospitable. The challenge that we have is knowing how to translate that hospitality, that warmness, that building a relationship in a corporate environment in American culture. So that's what I mean, my friend.
Oh, I love that, man. That's awesome. Mi casa su casa, right? Yes.
Yes.
All right. So nurture your relationships. Continue to follow up with your contacts. What about an Oscar? You let me know if this is something that makes sense to talk about or not. But what about once we are within a company? All right, we got our foot in the door, we got that job. Any advice as to what we need to continue to do to build our brand or just
Yes.
get the next job?
Yes. Oh my gosh. The work never ends, my friend. Work never ends here in terms of building our brand. So once we've gotten that foot in the door, one is continue to build those relationships to really create what I call a dream team. A dream team is made up of five people: a mentor, coach, a sponsor, a close friend, and a promoter. And we all know what a mentor is. Okay. A coach is, someone again that can give you some guidance on how to do your job, et cetera, and so forth better. Okay. A sponsor is someone that knows the quality of your work, obviously knows you, and has their antennas up so that when there are opportunities come up, maybe a promotion or so forth, they let you know. A close friend, I'm going to give you the OG, the Oscar Garcia version. A close friend is someone that you have given permission for them to be brutally honest with you and let you know when you're doing great and when you're messing up. Okay. And the promoter here is someone that isn't necessarily connecting you to opportunities, but rather with other people that are like-minded that share similar values. Look at identifying those people and putting together that dream team. The second part of it is start
Yeah.
creating a kudos folder where every time, if you get any awards, if you get any recognition from your manager, from a client, etc., just save those emails, those files on just a personal, maybe take a screenshot and so forth, and start creating that kudos file. And then the third thing and the last thing is start building that career portfolio. That career portfolio is examples of your work. It could be a PowerPoint presentation. It could be an image that you created, maybe a recording of a talk that you gave. Just start creating that career portfolio, because then you have these three things and you then take these three things and begin to use it to continue to share and build that personal brand. Many mistakes that professionals make is that once they get hired, one, they don't do any of these three things that I do. But what they do is they promote more the company's products and services. And then the day is going to come where you're going to get laid off or you're going to want to transition jobs. You're going to have to start from scratch, building your own brand. Okay. So those are my recommendations.
Así es, Oscar. Así es. And man, I think there's so much to unpack there that we're going to have you back for another episode, because what you just said, is super powerful. I've actually never heard it said that way. One of the things that I tell people as a financial advisor, because people will ask me, hey, where's the best investment? The best investment is in you, right? Yes. Developing your current skills, that is where your best investment is. And you talk about a mentor, and it was something that took me a really long time to get. Now, I'll offer a different perspective on mentors, right? Because you don't have to have a mentor within the company that you're working in. You can find a mentor within the industry that you're in, someone
Yes.
that you truly admire, someone that has gotten to where you want to be, that has a proven track record. Now, people who are successful are busy and they value their time, right?
Yes.
Because once you get successful, you start having a lot of opportunities and you have to be really careful with how you spend your time. And so I want to encourage my audience to think about this: is if you want to be mentored by someone, reach out to them, but also be willing to say, hey, I admire you. Here's what I like about you. Here's what I'm trying to get better at. Is this something that you can help me in? And by the way, I'm willing to pay for your time, right? You
Yes.
will absolutely get a lot more mentorship and more mentorship opportunities that way than just asking. And you have to think about it. You have to value people's time. And
Yes.
what's the best investment? Invest in yourself, invest in your brand, invest in your skills, invest in mentors. Now that we're talking about
Yes.
investing, Oscar, this is a perfect segue. to talk a little bit more about creating wealth as Latinos. I'm so passionate about just even having other Latinos hear from other Latinos who have used maybe just the simple stock market to create wealth, because only 5% of us, 62 million of us here in the US, only 5% of us are used in the stock market for many reasons. There's always a lot of reasons, but one of those reasons is because we don't know. We don't know how to use it, or we're skeptical about it. Oscar, have you had any experience with the stock market? And if you had, tell us more about it.
Yeah, Nestor, you are 100% correct in terms of many of us Latinos not taking advantage of the stock market because, again, lack of knowledge. We didn't grow up with it, et cetera, and so forth. And in my case, there is some of that as well that I have not taken full advantage of the stock market the way maybe others have for the reasons that you stated. Now, when I graduated from college and I got my first job out of college, the company had 1K investment. Some companies had matching. And so I participated at that level, but it was more of a, how should I say, just a rookie level, nothing sophisticated or anything like that. I remember meeting, then later on getting a financial planner and again, almost letting the financial planners guide us and so forth, but not really having a full understanding of what he was advising us. It's more kind of like going to the doctor and you're like, okay, the doctor said I need to take this medicine and so forth. But I wasn't fully informed, educated, and knowledgeable with the investments and beyond 401k. I mean, there's so many other areas, right? There's real estate investments or business investments and just so many other different types of investments. So just to come back again, my experience has followed that trajectory of what you just described here, the typical Latino.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say, Oscar, and thank you for being open and being true and letting us know your experience, because that's what's going to really help us move the needle. Investing doesn't have to be difficult. Okay. There's so many ways to invest now in the stock market that are super simple. So one of the things that I want to say is to the listeners, it does not have to be difficult. You can buy very easy investments that give you access to lots of companies, lots of industries, lots of countries. So you have a very diversified way of investing and creating wealth. But the other thing that I'll say is just you talked about going to the doctor and the doctor giving you the medicine and then you just saying, okay, I'm going to take it. You challenge what people tell you
Yes.
in a respectful way. It's like, hey, doctor, I appreciate that. Tell me why this is a good medicine. What other options do I have besides taking this particular medicine? Same thing with a financial advisor. Ask your financial advisor. She's working with the financial advisor. Perfect. I understand what you're telling me to do, but tell me why this is the best way and what other options are there available for me to meet this particular goal that I have. So those are the two things that I'll leave the audience with when it comes to personal finance and investing. Oscar, is there anything else that you want to make sure our audience walks away with from our conversation today?
Yeah. First, Nestor, again, thank you very much for having me here as a guest. I love what you are doing, the work that you're sharing, the knowledge that you're sharing with others. And I can tell too that you just have a big heart, my friend. So thank you for having me as a guest. What I want to leave people with is the notion that don't aim to impress others, inspire others through your imperfections. Let me say that again. Don't aim to impress others. Inspire them through your imperfections. It's that's scary, Nestor, to share our imperfections because we're just naturally want to put our best foot forward, right? But when we look at someone that we respect, someone that we admire, and they share their trials and tribulations, they share their imperfections, the challenges that they've been through, I don't know about you, but I have a newfound respect for that person. And then also that person gives me hope because I look at them and I'm like, if she can, if he can, went through that challenge, I can do it too. And that's what I mean by sharing our imperfections, being vulnerable. All right. So I want to leave your audience with that.
Oscar, thank you. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for being really look after and just really learn a lot from Colombianos. I really appreciate you being here, sharing all the knowledge, and keep up the good work, man.
Thank you, Nestor. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you también. Thank you.
Bueno, pues, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I want to go ahead and ask you to please send me any questions you may have or any topics you want me to talk about. Go ahead and send them to Nestor, Nestor, at greencardstogreenbacks.com. I actually read every email you send, so I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to head over to greencardstogreenbacks.com for the show notes for this episode and really links to any resources we may have discussed. Bueno, amigos y amigas, nos vemos pronto. Let's go make those greenbacks.